The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zekthor of the Kralix Empire activated the holodisplay. The three-dimensional projection materialized above the central platform, showing a sleek, obsidian-black device no larger than a human fist. Its surface rippled with strange energy patterns, and even through the hologram, the assembled delegates could sense its ominous purpose. "Esteemed members of the Council," Zekthor's translator rendered his chittering voice into standard galactic common, "what you see before you is the culmination of 2 centuries of Kralix military research. The entropy disruptor Mark 7th. Helen Chen, Earth's newly appointed representative, leaned forward in her seat, her dark eyes fixed on the projection. Beside her, Nathan Rodriguez, the human delegation's military advisor, made quick notes on his datapad. "This weapon," Zekthor continued, his mandibles clicking with pride, "can destabilize molecular bonds at a quantum level. A single unit can reduce a starship to its component atoms in 3.7 seconds. It is, without question, the most dangerous handheld weapon ever created." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The insectoid Vexani delegates buzzed anxiously. The crystalline luminar dimmed their inner lights in what their species considered respectful fear. Even the normally stoic Draconians shifted their massive frames uncomfortably. "The Kralix Empire," Zekthor announced, his voice taking on a harder edge, "wishes to make it clear that we possess this technology. We have manufactured exactly 7 units, and they remain under the highest security protocols. This disclosure serves as a deterrent to any who might consider aggressive actions against our territories." The chamber erupted in controlled chaos. Delegates spoke urgently to their aides. Security calculations were being run. Military advisors conferred in hushed tones about defensive countermeasures. Helen raised her hand, the gesture nearly lost in the commotion. When Zekthor finally noticed her, he gestured for silence. "The human delegate wishes to speak." Helen stood, smoothing down her Navy diplomatic jacket. Nathan glanced up at her, a knowing smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He'd worked with Helen long enough to recognize that particular expression. "Thank you, Ambassador Zekthor. That's quite an impressive piece of technology." Helen's voice carried clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I have just one question, if I may." Zekthor's antennae twitched with satisfaction. Finally, someone showing proper respect for Kralix superiority. "Of course, Ambassador Chen. Can we buy that in bulk?" The silence that followed was absolute. Even the chamber's environmental systems seemed to pause. Zekthor's translator squawked, then repeated, "Can buy bulk?" "Yes," Helen continued matter-of-factly, as if discussing office supplies. "How much would you charge per unit if we ordered, say, 10,000? We'd need 15,000, actually, but we like to start with a test order. Also, do you offer quantity discounts? And what's the warranty situation?" Nathan pulled up a document on his datapad. "We've prepared a preliminary purchase order. Standard human military procurement format. We can transfer it to you now if you'd like to review the terms." The Draconian ambassador, a battle-scarred veteran named Throckmar, let out what could only be described as a laugh, a sound like grinding boulders. "Humans. Of course." Zekthor's exoskeleton had taken on a pale green hue, which Helen had learned indicated confusion in Kralix physiology. You cannot be serious. Did you not hear what I said? This weapon can destroy a starship. It is meant as a deterrent, a symbol of power." "Oh, we heard you." Helen sat back down, completely relaxed. "Sounds perfect for our mining operations, actually. Nathan, didn't Survey Corps put in a request for something that could break down asteroids more efficiently?" "They did," Nathan confirmed, scrolling through his notes. "Current plasma borers take about 40 minutes per standard asteroid. If this thing works as advertised, we could quintuple our mineral extraction rates in the belt." "Mining?" Zekthor's voice rose to a high-pitched keen. You want to use the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy for mining? Helen shrugged. Well, sure. What else would we use it for? We've got plenty of weapons already. But an efficient molecular disruptor? That's got applications in demolition, terraforming, waste management, deep space construction. She counted on her fingers. Oh, and search and rescue. Cutting through hull breaches without causing secondary damage would save lives. The Vexani delegate, speaking for the first time, buzzed through her translator. The humans are either insane or brilliant. I can never determine which. Usually both, Throckmar rumbled. I fought alongside human forces in the Outer Rim conflicts. They once turned a weather control satellite into a weapon by accidentally pointing it at the enemy fleet and creating localized ice storms in space. That was actually Nathan's idea, Helen said cheerfully. Nathan raised his hand in acknowledgement. To be fair, the satellite was already broken. We just gave it purpose. Zekthor's mandibles worked silently for several seconds. You cannot. This is not. The entropy disruptor is a weapon of war. It took our greatest scientists 200 years to develop. Right. Which is why we're willing to pay premium prices, Helen said. We're thinking it would take our R&D teams at least 5 years to reverse engineer something similar. Buying directly from you saves time. Plus, it supports interspecies trade cooperation. The Council's always encouraging that. The Luminar delegates' crystalline form pulsed with what their species expressed as amusement. Ambassador Chen raises a valid point. The economic benefits to the Kralix Empire would be substantial. Zekthor looked around the chamber, seeking support, but found only fascination and barely concealed amusement on the faces of other delegates. The carefully orchestrated power play had somehow transformed into a sales negotiation. We could also offer technology exchange, Nathan added. Earth has some interesting advances in portable fusion containment. Might interest your scientists. Zekthor's translator struggled with the series of distressed clicks and chitters. The answer is no. These weapons are not for sale. They are instruments of deterrence, not industrial tools. Helen nodded understandingly. That's fair. Well, if you change your mind, the offer stands. Though I should mention, once our R&D teams start working on their own version, we probably won't need to buy yours. Humans are pretty good at the whole, someone said we can't have it, so now we really want to build it thing. It's our worst and best quality, Nathan agreed. As the session ended and delegates filed out, Throckmar approached the human delegation. You did that on purpose? Helen smiled innocently. Did what? Made them realize that revealing a weapon to humans is the fastest way to ensure humans will acquire, adapt, or completely repurpose that weapon within a standard year. We prefer the term creative problem solving, Nathan said. Throckmar's laugh rumbled again. This is why the galaxy both fears and admires your species. You see a doomsday weapon and think, useful tool. Helen stood, gathering her materials. Ambassador Throckmar, humanity didn't get to space by being afraid of dangerous things. We got here by asking, but what if we tried anyway? It's worked out pretty well so far. As they left the chamber, Nathan glanced at his datapad. By the way, Engineering Division already started preliminary designs for a molecular disruptor. They're calling it Project Bulk Order. Helen laughed. Of course they did. Humans really are terrible at being threatened properly, aren't we? The absolute worst, Nathan agreed. Thank goodness for that. Behind them, Zekthor remained in the chamber, staring at his prized weapons hologram, wondering how his terrifying demonstration of power had somehow resulted in the humans offering him a purchase order and helpful suggestions for product improvement. The galaxy, he reflected dimly, had been a much simpler place before humanity joined the Council.